Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. I am thrilled to be here, and I showed up today. I can't believe it. I am here. In spite of my bad head, and I will go more into that in a moment. What does showing up mean for you? I'll leave you pondering that whilst I take a little diversion into a story. I was born in Africa, Ghana to be precise, and growing up I was a very precocious child, very adventurous, got into all sorts of scrapes, not all of them coming off well, always in trouble. So I was labeled in the local dialect as Wutrinye, which literally means you've got a bad head. And it's amazing how this gets into your psyche as a child. You're not really thinking about it, but you're going on about your business and thinking, got a bad head. I was at high school in the 80s. Yes, I am that old. And at that time, the political climate in Ghana was interesting, to say the least. This led to shortage of certain dry goods, groceries, cornflakes, tinned fish, that sort of thing. These were sort of things we would put in what we called our chop box. I went to boarding school and you needed your chop box, which literally was your provisions box. And this is what you would use to stock your chop box. And because of the shortage, it drove prices up. So my friend, who was a little bit more streetwise than I was, decided that we should go to a neighboring country, Togo, to do the shopping there. It was there in abundance, and it was cheaper. I'd never been anywhere in my life without my parents at that point. And I thought there was no way they were going to allow me to go to another country without them. So I wasn't going to tell anybody. I woke up, a crack of dawn, took all of my 15-year-old life savings and headed off to the coach station to meet my friend. Unfortunately, I was late and I missed her, and she'd gone on the previous coach. Undeterred, I hopped onto the next one. Off I went. I did tell you I was adventurous. So, off to another country. And the way the system worked, you got there, and the coaches stopped at the border, and then you crossed the border on foot, did your shopping, came back. Easy peasy. So I got there, got off the coach, crossed the border. As soon as I did that, this young man approached me and asked me if I needed help. And I thought, well, my friend that is a little bit more streetwise than me is not here. Of course I need help. They speak French here. I don't speak French. Of course I need help. He said to me he knew all the best places. He could bargain and get me everything I wanted. So out came my list. I followed him. And to be fair, he drove a hard bargain in French. It sounded like a hard bargain to me anyway. And we bought lots of things. And he was the epitome of chivalry. Is that the word? Yes, that's the one. And basically, he wouldn't even allow me to carry anything. He carried everything. The only thing I was allowed to carry was just a small plastic bag with that had biscuits in there. And on our way back, he said to me, when we got to the border, because I had lots of things, they might give me a bit of trouble. So he knew another way to get to the coach station bypassing the border. So he was going to go that way and meet me, and I was just to cross the border with my bag of biscuits. What could go wrong? And by this time, I thought he'd been so good, he'd carried all this, I was going to give him a huge fat tip, because now he was definitely exceeding my expectations. I crossed the border, went through the checks, got to the coach station. I waited, and waited until it was time for the last coach to leave. And with tears in my eyes, as I clambered onto the coach and it left, for all of the 217 kilometers back, the only thought ringing through my head was, why did my bad head follow me all the way to another country? Fast forward 5 years. I moved to England. For some reason, I decide my bad head is not following me to England. I'm going to change my mindset. I'm not going to consider myself unlucky anymore, and I am just going to grab life by the horns. And believe you me, that's exactly what I did. This brings me to my definition of showing up. What does showing up mean? So for me, showing up means showing up for yourself, showing up for life, and allowing life to show up for you. How do you show up for yourself? Number one, are you looking after yourself? Are you looking after your physicals? Are you eating right? Are you sleeping your 8 to 9 hours? Are you exercising? Are you creating room for relaxation? Are you doing all those things? If you're not doing those things, you're not showing up for yourself. Emotional. What do you do when you're stressed out? Are you managing your emotions, or are your emotions managing you? Mental. What are you putting in your head? What books are you reading? Scratch that. When was the last time you read a book? Spiritual. Let me paint a picture for you. So you wake up one day feeling 105 years old. You're under the duvet. You're not feeling too clever. The day before, you didn't have a good day. You turned up at your governance board meeting and you literally got thrown under the bus. You went to your parents-teacher consultation and you are convinced the child the teacher's talking about is just another child who happens to have your child's name. And now your partner, let's not even go there. So you're there under the duvet thinking, should I really come out? Should I bother? In those times when your markers of life are going pear-shaped, what is your philosophy? What strategies have you got? How do you bring yourself back to your center for you to know you're more than your failures and your achievements? There is more to you than the things you're measuring yourself by. So what philosophies, what strategies are you using to bring yourself back to your center? I was giving a talk at a major international bank, and a perfectly made-up lady came up to me. She just looked exquisite, and she said to me afterwards, I would like to concentrate on spiritual a bit more. I just can't find time for meditation. And I'm thinking, if you can find time to look like this, enough said. So let's talk about number 2, showing up for life. If you've showed up for yourself, if you've looked after your physical, your mental, emotional, your spiritual, you have got the foundation, and now you can show up for life. And how do you show up for life? For us women, 2 things, or for me, 2 things. Family, career. When it comes to family, women, we tend to fall into this trap where we use our lives to service the other lives around us. So our lives, we think, are there to service our children's lives, our partner's lives, our mother-in-law's life, our parents' life, everybody else but us. So what happens is we're not showing up for ourselves. We're showing up for everybody but not us. And this is what happened to me about 10 years ago when I found myself standing at Harley Street, going to see a consultant, clutching a spreadsheet of 14 symptoms. Now, why did that happen? Because I had not showed up for myself. I had showed up for everybody. They were all fine. I had 14 symptoms. Let's talk about success. 3 components of success from my point of view. You have effort, you have talent, and you have luck. Effort, we all understand. If you've achieved anything in your life, you understand hard graft. So I'm not going to labor that point. Let's talk about talent. Thomas Edison said, genius is 99% perspiration. Perspiration by any other name is effort, hard graft. So 2/3 of the components of success is just hard graft. Let's talk about talent again. So Carol Dweck wrote a brilliant book called Mindset. If you're a parent, please read that. There's fixed mindset, there's growth mindset. And for me, I buy into the growth mindset. So talent, well, if you're happy to put in the 10,000 hours at anything, as they say, you would become world class. That is talent by any other name. Again, that comes down to effort. Luck. So you're lying in bed, minding your own business, the ceiling collapses, and somehow, just somehow, you end up in the cavity with all the rubble arranged neatly around you, and you escape without a scratch. That is luck. Dragging yourself out on a rainy night to a TEDx women talk and finding yourself sitting next to a casting director and landing the role of your dreams, that is showing up. So, we know the components of success, and now we understand most of that is just showing up. Let's talk about our careers. A friend of a friend was an accountant in the UK. Nothing exciting about that. She moved to Australia, continued being an accountant. Still nothing exciting. Then she got pregnant. Yay, some excitement. And then she went on maternity leave. And just as she was getting ready to come back to work, her employers phoned her and said, we think when you come back, you should apply for the role as a CFO, which is a Chief Finance Officer. This was 2 levels above where she was working. And this, of course, threw her into a spin. She wasn't ready. She wanted the key skills. She wanted to tick everything, make sure she was basically ticking all the boxes. And oh my God, no, she just wasn't ready. She could never do it. She could never do it. Why do we do that to ourselves as women? What is that about? Luckily, her husband told her to wind her neck in and get focused on the job. Now, if she'd been a man and she got that phone call, she would have been, I'll be there Monday morning. Women, we doubt, we self-doubt, we have to tick every box, we have to make sure we've met all the criteria, and then we continue to doubt. There is a concept in management called the Peter Principle that observes that in a hierarchical society, people will rise to the level of their incompetence. I beg to differ when it comes to women. Chance would be a fine thing. The writer Tom Schuler, in his book, The Polar Principle, points out that women work at their level, that they work below their level of competence. So we don't even skyrocket up there to hit our level of incompetence. We're there coasting below our level of competence. Why is that? It's because we're not putting our heads above the parapet. We're not grasping those opportunities. Even when those opportunities come knocking at our door, we're self-doubting. We're not willing to learn on the job. We want to know everything. And for us to show up for ourselves, we have to learn on the job. We have to be ready to stand up and be counted. We might not know everything, but we're smart enough and sharp enough to learn on the job. Because we're not showing up for ourselves like that, what happens is we end up looking after everybody, leaving ourselves out. We're stressed out doing jobs we're not particularly keen on, but we think, oh, God, for whatever, this is what I have to do. That leaves us unhappy, leaves us more stressed out and overwhelmed. There is research out there in both the US and the UK showing that in the US, 1 in every 4 women is on some form of mental health medication. In the UK, it's 1 in every 3. Why is that? We're not living the lives that suit us. We need to be able to structure our lives in such a way that we're supporting ourselves, that we're showing up, and we're not talking ourselves out of opportunities. I mentor a few women, and when I listen to them talk, sometimes I just want to shake them. And it's just because I've come up the hard way. But we just do ourselves such a disservice by not showing up. You know, show up when you're not feeling up to it. Just show up anyway. You never know. You might be the only person that shows up. and then you get the role by default anyway. So let's talk about showing up, being visible, so that life is showing up for you. Now you've looked after the physicals, you've showed up for yourself, you showed up for the world, grabbed it by the horns, and now you are learning on the job, you're being visible. What happens is that opportunities start coming at you. You're visible now. You are the expert in your field. You're the go-to person. People start coming to you, and opportunities start coming at you. And then you start standing in your own right as a woman, unapologetically as a woman, because you have showed up. What happens? You start thinking, because opportunities are coming at you, that success is actually 99% inspiration. See how you flip that around? What happened to the perspiration? You forgot how hard it was, the graft, to get there. But you have to get there. You have to be visible. So I hope I have inspired you to show up for yourself and allow life to show up for you. And here I am, standing on a TEDx stage, talking about showing up in London. That is not bad for an African girl with a bad head. Thank you.